Hello, dear students. I welcome you all in my lecture on friend classes in C++. Okay, why we need a friend class? Simply, we want to share our data, either it is private or protected, with a class that is not a subclass. In this lecture, you will learn to create friend class in C++ and use them efficiently in your program. One of the important concepts of object-oriented programming is data hiding. That means that a non-member function cannot access an object's private or protected data. But sometimes this is a restriction, and this restriction may force programmer to write long and complex codes. So there is a mechanism built in C++ programming to access private or protected data from a non-member function. This can be done using a friend function or a friend class. In my previous lecture, we had discussed the friend function, and in this lecture, we are going to focus on friend classes. Similarly, like a friend function, a class can also be made a friend of another class by using keyword friend. As we know that a class cannot access the private member of the another class. Similarly, a class that does not have the inheritance with the another class cannot access its protected member as well. Therefore, a friend class is a class that can access the private and protected members of a class in which it is declared as a friend. This is needed when we want to allow a particular class to access the private and protected data members of a class. When a class is made a friend class, all the member functions of that class becomes friend functions, and they can easily access the data that is either private or protected stored in the class. Let's now move towards the syntax. Remember the two properties of declaring the friend functions. First, we need to declare function as a friend, and secondly, we need to pass an object of the class as the parameter to that particular function. Similarly, working with the class, these two properties are still valid, and we need to make sure that step number one, we need to declare the class as a friend, and secondly, we need to pass the object as a parameter to any function which we want to access data in this particular class. Let us move towards an example. We create a class example and declare a temp class, a temporary class as a friend of this class example. How we've declared the class as a friend, we are going to use at this point, we are going to declare class as a friend. The syntax of declaring a class as a friend contains, we are going to use the friend keyword space class keyword and the name of the class which we want to be friend of this particular class example. So we have declared temp as a friend class in this example class, which means the class temp now can easily access the data that is stored in class example. The class is now closed and we move towards the next class, and simply we are going to declare the another class, that is the temporary class. In the public area we are going to declare a function, and this function will going to accept an argument of type example. So the first property is been satisfied, that we have declared the class as friend, and the second property is also satisfied, that we have declared a function in the friend class that accepts an argument of type example. Now, there are certain rules that we need to remember. Rule number one, that the friendship is not inherited. That means that the friend privileges does not going to carry towards the drive class. For example, we have declared a class A, and in this class A, we have declared class B as a friend. That means that the class B is a friend of class A, and the class B can easily access data stored in class A. Now, we are going to drive another class with the name of child that inherits A. It's a drive class of class A. So, because class child is a drive class of A, so and B is the friend of A, therefore, can B access the child? Can it? The answer is no. B cannot access the data that is stored in the subclasses of class A. Therefore, it is known that the friendship is not inherited. The friend class can only access the data where it has been declared as friend. Just to remember this concept, you always keep in mind a simple example that the friend of my father's friend is not my friend. It's very simple. My father's friend is not my friend because the friendship is not inherited. Rule number two, friendship is not transitive. That means if the class A declares class B as a friend and class B declares class C as a friend, that does not mean that C is also a friend of A. Like class A, it declares B as a friend, which means that the class B can easily access data that is stored in A because B is a friend of A. And then we have another class C, and C is a friend of B. So can C access the data that is stored in A? The simple answer is no, it's not possible because B is a friend of A. Yes, B can access data in A. And similarly, C is a friend of B, which means C can access data that is stored in B. But C cannot access A, which means friendship is not transitive. Rule number three, friendship is not reciprocal. That means if a class A declares class B as a friend, that means A declares B as a friend. That means B can access A. But that doesn't mean that A can access B, which means it is a one-way relationship. Class A declares B as a friend, which means B can access class A. B is a friend of A, but A is not a friend of B. So, if A wants to access data that is stored in B, it is not possible. That means friendship is not reciprocal. The only class that is declared as friend can access data, but the class in which friend is declared, that class cannot access the data of the friend class that has been declared. So simply remember this, like for example, it is a one-way relationship. Like class A declares B as a friend, which means B is a friend of A, does not mean that A is a friend of B. If you want to create a two-way relationship, then we need to declare class A as a friend in the class B. Then we can access data in both the classes. Otherwise, always remember friendship is not reciprocal. The only class that is a friend class can access the data. The another class cannot access the friend. Rule number 4. This keyword does not works with friend. As we know that this always refers to the current object, to the current class. Therefore, the data, the functions which are member of the class can be accessed using this operator. Because friend is not declared within the class, these are some independent standalone classes which are working outside the class and they have no relationship like inheritance. Therefore, this cannot be used with the class that is a friend. So we cannot use the this operator with the functions which are available in the friend class. Okay, I hope this is basically cleared. Now take an example. We declare a class employee, and in the class employee we are going to declare two variables, two attributes which are private. We have a name that is a string, and then we have declared salary as double. And then in public, we have declared a null constructor. Then we have a parameterized constructor. We have a function get name. We have get salaries, and the details are on your screen. These are simple functions. We have a null constructor. We have a parameterized constructor that will going to accept data from the user and going to assign these data in the variables. And then we have get name and get salary that is simply going to return me the name and the salary of my employee. Okay, now we have another class that is a boss, and the scenario is something like this, that we want to give some raise in the salary of the employee, and the boss will going to give raise in the salary of the employee. So if I'm going to declare employee as a drive class, or for example I'm going to drive my boss class with the employee, so that would not going to solve my problem. Because whenever we are going towards inheritance with the data, all the functions and authorities and controls are also transferred to the drive class. So if we are going to drive the employee class with the boss class, so then that means that the give raise function will also be forwarded to the employee, and the employee now can give raise to himself. So that is not the case. Therefore, we cannot inherit any of the classes. So how I'm going to access the object of employee? We have one of the solution, like for example, if you look at this point, we can see that the employee, an object of employee is declared within the class boss. Let us see what is going to happen. We in the public, we have the get raise function, and this get raise function will going to accept the amount, and that particular amount will going to be added to the existing salary, which means the raise is being basically given by the boss to the employee. In the main, we are going to create employee E1, and his name is Sam, and the salary is 10,000 rupees. For example, we have created another object of boss, and we are boss dot give raise 1,000. Now we think that we have an employee E1, and we have created an object of boss B. And look at the code at this point where we have declared an employee as a private member of this class, which means that boss will going to have a copy of employees object. But look, this E and this E1 both are two different objects. When I'm going to call function b.giveRaise, this function, it will going to access the e.salary, which E? The E that is declared in the memory of this boss. This E does not mean Sam. Sam is a separate object. This E is basically the object, a local object that is created in the memory of this particular object boss, and it will going to give raise of 1,000 to this employee. This is this E, which is the local variable, the local object, the local copy of the object that holds in the boss memory right here. It does not mean E1. Therefore, the salary of this E object, that is the private object, will be increased by 1,000. It will be set by 1,000, and the salary of Sam will remain same. So I hope this is clear to you. This concept is basically known as containership. Containership means to hold an object within as an local variable. This is basically the concept of containership. So containership means to hold an object within the memory, but it does not refers to any another variable in the memory. So what we want that this class boss will going to access this employee E1 and will going to raise his salary. So how it is possible? This is possible by declaring boss as a friend. So we need to edit the employee class, and in this employee class we are just going to add a statement that this statement, this one, that friend class boss. Now because the boss is a friend, now it can access data that is stored in the employee class. Okay, we also need to edit the boss class because property number one has been satisfied. That is, we have declared class as friend, and now we need to satisfy property number two. That means in the give raise function we need to edit the signature, and now we need to pass employee as an object, and then the amount as a double. This is basically the amount which we want to give raise to this particular employee. Now look at the main. So we have just changed the function. Otherwise everything will remain same. The give raise function now we will going to accept two parameters. First is employee, the object of employee, and second is the amount, and it will going to add this amount into the existing salary of the employee E, and this is basically E that is passed at runtime. Now we have created two employees E1 and E2, Sam's and Jobs, and then we have created another object of boss, and then we have called this function like boss dot give raise E1. We have passed E1. This E1 is Sam, and we are going to increase the salary of Sam by 1000, and then we have called function again b dot give raise, and now we have passed object E2, which means the object of jobs, and it will going to increase the salary of jobs by rupees 500. So this is basically the concept. We have created E1, then we have created E2. These are two different objects. E1 is Sam, E2 is job. Then we have created an object of boss, and now the boss is going to give raise to E1, which means now because in the friend class we have declared boss as a friend, the boss object can easily access any object of E1 in the memory, any object of the employee in the memory. Therefore the boss will going to access E1 and raise his salary by 1000, and in the second function right here, this one, it will going to access E2 and it will going to increase the salary of E2 by 500. So this is how the friend classes are going to work. So now we summarize the lecture, and I hope the concept is now clear. So we must remember that friend class has access to all the data stored in the class. Friendship is not inherited, neither it is transitive, and friendship is not reciprocal. Always need to pass an object when we need to access the data, and data sharing now can be done using three basic concepts. Either we are going to inherit a class with the another class, that means that the parent will always have control on the child, and all the data and member functions that are declared and protected and public will be forwarded to the child. Secondly, we can create a containership, which means we are going to declare an object of one class in the another class, and therefore every class has its own local copy of the object of the another class. And third is basically a very powerful one, a concept, that is friend. By using friend, now we have some extra privileges of accessing the private and protected data of any object that is created in the memory. So I hope that the concepts are very much clear. Thank you for listening. If you have any queries, you can contact me. The details are also given. So thank you very much. Goodbye.